everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Plant Free MD. I'm your host, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Will Ziener, who is going to tell us his story with the carnivore diet. Will, thank you so much for coming on.
Anthony, thanks for having me.
Not a problem.
Long time follower. I just didn't listen to your podcast as much as I have recently because I didn't know you had one.
Oh,
I kind of had you on my reels and stuff, and I was very intrigued of your methodology, your enthusiasm, your knowledge. So I'm honored to be on here for sure.
Well, thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. So if you can tell us, for people who haven't come across you or don't know you, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what brought you to the carnivore diet?
Yeah, so it all started in 2019. That's about 12 years after I retired. Military guy, 20 years of soft aviation, working with soft guys. So, it was important for me to at least appear to be in shape when we had the users on board and all. And then it all started going, downhill. Weights just started packing on. I was in Germany from 16 to 19, and I was hiking my nuts off, doing Volksmarch every weekend, 10Ks, times 2 on the weekend, and then I'd hike during the week. I kind of lived in some foothills. It was beautiful. And then all of a sudden, my hip was getting really bad. I went in. They said, you got moderate hip arthrosis. And it was getting so bad that, and they didn't have a surgeon, that I could barely walk. So the last couple of months were without exercise. So I went from about 212. When I retired, I was probably about 195. Went to 212, but I was hiking, so I was kind of maintaining, and I was working out a little bit. And then no hiking, ballooned up to about 235. And I was unfortunately, I was starting to drink more for the pain. So, double whammy, drinking more, hiking less. That's kind of what helped me balloon up. Mm-hmm. I decided, all right, Germany, I can drink beer at work. US is not going to be a player. So I said, you know what? I'm quitting. I'm just going to quit drinking, because it was getting too much. Came back on the flight, cold quit. It was pretty easy. Saw the surgeon locally. He said, you don't have moderate hip arthrosis, you have severe. So within, I came back in June, August, I had hip replacement surgery. I had a few other surgeries, both left and right toe, right shoulder. And in the meantime, that year, I lost 35 pounds, which was confusing. I didn't get it. I didn't understand whatsoever what was happening to my body. And in the meantime, kind of podcasts were getting really popular. I'm listening to Joe Rogan, and Paul Saladino was one of his guests, and I got his book, The Carnivore MD. I'm like, all right, dude, I could ratchet this carb thing up. I didn't realize the effect of alcohol on the liver. The carbs were kind of easy for me to get, but so the 35 pounds is gone, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not hiking. I'm not doing anything. So that was weird. And then I just thought, well, let me just ratchet this carb thing up a little more. From really turned out to be, I was at the beginning stages of a low carb diet by not drinking, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't really pound the carbs outside of that, but I just reduced it to, probably below 20. I mean, for the most part. And in 2000, late 19, early 20, and then that's when I experienced ketosis. My urine was funny smelling, kind of like like not smelly like asparagus, but smelly like different like asparagus, and didn't know what was going on. Day 3, I wasn't hungry for a dinner, so I was on a 3 meal a day regimen, and that kind of just, I'm like, day 3, I'm not hungry. I'm like, for dinner, I'm like, what is going on here? I just didn't know what was the physiology and all that, and then the brain, the clarity. It's like, dude, it's like my vision didn't get better, but my mental clarity was like, my aperture was opening up and going, dude, there's so much around you that you weren't aware of. And then, so I'd skip a dinner every couple days, and then, then it turned into 2 meals a day, and then eventually 1 meal a day. And then in the meantime, another 35 pounds. So I'm at 235. Now I'm down to 165. Right. And that shape of my life, just never tired, not needing a lot of sleep, just, and my clarity, I could multitask. I could do I could listen to a podcast, do a telecon. It was just like, this is unbelievable. I cannot believe I hit the lottery here. And then, so I wanted to spread the word, and boy, that was a mistake, because nobody wants to hear it. Zero. Of my 200 friends, not close ones, but I'm like, hey man, you gotta try this, and it's unbelievable, and it's gonna change your life. And I can't give up pasta or bread. I'm like, no, dude, you gotta. And then all of a sudden I realized, all right, when I hear that word, I know to stop, because that means that they're not interested in doing anything. Because if you tell me you can't give up pasta or bread, you don't give a whatever. So a little frustrating, but I still kept on trying. And I went from convincing one guy to maybe two or three people. That's it, and have changed their lifestyle and have thanked me. So those few folks really kind of give me the energy to keep going. And I get my buddies like, dude, why don't you have a podcast? Because like that clarity thing, when I started listening to the low carb down under circuit, and all those guys were speaking, I could verbatim quote stuff that's happened over history. Procter and Gamble, 1912, the heart attacks. Ansel Keys, this, that. It was just like, this is so goddamn easy. It's almost not fair. I feel like I'm cheating, because I haven't run in probably 15 years since I retired. I had chronic shin splints, so it was painfully uncomfortable to do that. So I'm active, and here's my little workout stuff. Nothing crazy. I bang some of that stuff out, once or twice a day. This past 6 months have been a little struggle because I had sciatica. So I just, the only thing I really wanted to do was out there and walk, and then, try to put a heating pad on for pain. I'm addressing that with more, not severe, but I'm going to get a vertebrae injection here in next week. The only thing that worked more than one day was prednisone. So I've been on that for close to a month now. two-week intervals, and that did bring relief. So I don't, I mean, less, I think prednisone caused me some minor stomach issues, but other than that, the pain was just too unbearable. So I'm dealing with that. Anyways, so 20 rolls around. That shaped my life, enjoying everything, listening to the podcast, getting all the data in my brain and staying the course. Essentially, I haven't changed my meal regimen of one meal a day, mainly for the past 4 years, really. I have around 10, between 10 and 11, I cook some ground beef, about a pound, but I don't eat it all. Have one egg, split a can of sardines. My dog is healthy as all get out. People can't believe she's 13 and so active. I put some choices I made: cottage cheese and full fat yogurt, which in the yogurt is kind of my dessert because I put whey protein powder, unsweetened coconut strips. I use, at this point, I don't use almonds anymore after listening to your podcast on oxalates. I use some walnuts, and that's more for crunch and taste, right? Not much of anything else. And that's my main meal every day, not bored. My cheat days are grilled steak at dinner time with the girls, which I don't normally eat a meal at dinner time. I'm already done with my main meal, and maybe I'll have a slice or two of provolone and maybe some peanuts again, maybe not the best choice. But for me, it seems to be, a decent snack food for, some protein and certainly some fat. But one other thing I turned off of was turmeric, because I thought that was helping my inflammation. But after listening to you guys, I'm like, oh, all right, let's knock that off. So that's kind of where I am today. Let me turn the clock back once more for my introduction to cholangiocarcinoma, which was a curveball back in 23. So here I am, best shape of my life, 165. I've been 165 for about 3 years now. Steady state. I presented with jaundice on a Monday, but I was complaining about my urine being like brown, and my wife was like, "Oh, it's always dark," and I'm like, "Well, this is different. It's not like bright yellow dark. It's no kidding brown." And that was probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the weekend maybe, and then Monday, yellow. I was presenting at a little conference, and I was feeling fine. Tuesday, I go, I can't even. I was constipated. I couldn't really. I called in work. I says, I'm not going to be able to make it today. I'm just going to Teams in. And I called the doctor. I says, hey, I don't know what's going on. My meds might be a problem here or something. It was one of the side effects of one of my, I take some psych meds for my PTSD. Said potential organ problems. And she was, okay, let's stop. And then I want you to call your primary. So I called the primary, and they go, we can't get you until Thursday. Why don't you come into urgent care? So I went there, and everything was off scale. My liver, ALT, AST was upwards of 700. My bilirubin was 11. And so they started taking all blood tests, hepatitis types, and nothing there. The doc said we have a scan set up this afternoon. And I'm like, hey, I feel like crap. And he goes, all right, let me set it up for tomorrow. And you can come in the morning. We'll get some more tests done. So they did a ultrasound first. They thought I had a gallstone. And then followed by a CAT scan. Then they go, all right, you can go home now. We're going to do an ERCP on Friday for you. I didn't know that the CAT scan showed the tumor right smack dab in the middle of my biliary tract. And so I'm prepped for that. And he told me what they're going to do. They're putting a stent in, and then if they have to, they can biopsy the sample of the tumor. I'm like, all right, well, so they put the stent in, and probably within a day, I started feeling really, really good. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's good news. So I was encouraged by that, right? Because to me, it was like, all right, well, they resolved my current problem of being yellow and not feeling good. And then, of course, Wednesday, the results popped in my app. And I showed my wife, I go, I don't know, what's this mean? She goes, oh, carcinoma? Yeah, that's cancer. And I go, oh, well, that sucks. And then I looked it up, and it was the data that I originally looked at was, a decade old, and it was not, it was bad. It was, sir, you have a 1-2% chance of living 1 year. I'm like, oh boy. Still not really that nervous about it, because I go, all right, well, this stent came in, so I know the cancer, it's not the cancer that was making me feel bad, right? It was the blockage. And so went through the whole rigmarole of seeing the oncologist and the surgeon. The surgeon, the surgeon tells me exactly what he's going to do. He's like, we're taking it out. If it's further up towards your liver, we can go into the left hepatic, remove it, or the right, not both. At that point, we stop the surgery and you go on chemo. If it's on the south side by the pancreas, we can do a procedure for that. Basic procedure will take 8 to 10 hours. And I'm like, all right. And then I see the oncologist. He goes, yeah, you have cancer. I'm like, okay. And he goes, and we have to do a PET scan. So I'm like, why didn't we do this before? And he goes, well, I haven't seen you. I go, well, I don't give a shit, because my app told me I had cholangiocarcinoma on March 10th. So I asked the surgeon, I go, hey, and by the way, that PET scan was going to be needed to get surgery, because I couldn't get surgery without it, right? Because they don't know if it spread. So I was kind of pissed. And I asked the surgeon, I go, can we schedule it like I'm getting the PET scan, in 2 weeks, like he said maybe it would happen? So then my wife got me a second opinion, audible to Mass General. That was Leahy, Mass General, the woman. So I saw them on a Wednesday or Thursday, Wednesday probably, Thursday, Friday I see her, Elizabeth Walsh in Mass General Boston. And she said, I said, hey, my biggest problem is I don't have a PET scan scheduled. And she goes, let me see what I can do. They had like 3 places down in Boston. Chelsea was one of them. That was the soonest, and that was like a Monday or Tuesday. Monday the next week. So at 7:00, I'm there. Get the scan. Get the results. Cleared for surgery. So I already had scheduled my surgery for the 22nd of March, and you stayed on track for that. Figured if after my surgery, if I woke up and my wife wasn't sad that, they had to audible into different scenarios, those as planned resection without any additional removal, and did the biopsy, the more thorough biopsy post surgery. And unfortunately, one of my lymph nodes popped positive, which took me from a stage 0 or 1, which I was looking for, to a stage 3C. And instead of optional chemo, which I was going to do anyways, it became mandatory. It became, dude, you one of the lymph nodes pop, so we gotta do some extra measures here. And to be honest, that whole time, I was walking the day after the surgery in the hospital. I don't think I really missed much. I could no longer do pull-ups after the surgery because of my stomach. But everything else was I didn't go heavy on any weights initially. I took it easy. I just let my body tell me what I could do. Did the chemo on the 21st of April. Zero nausea, zero slowdown of my activity, and went to radiology. Same thing, just plowed right through it. I just had daily chemo headaches. It was what was affecting me that I could manage with Tylenol and Motrin. So that was pretty awesome. And that was so a year ago. A year post treatment, I'm feeling good. Every 3 months I gotta get my scans. This one's actually, it's weird. It's more lethal than pancreatic cancer, but far less known. So that's why it doesn't really make the headlines. But I'm confident, and like when I get my scans, I kind of, I know if I feel good that I'm doing good, right? So, and I'm not changing. I'm not changing the course. Now, I did have a little effect of my my dietary, my system, and I do eat some sauerkraut, and I almost stopped it because of the possible toxins. But when I stopped it, I forgot to mention, at the hospital I got a triple hernia from constipation between the Yark painkiller and the new plumbing in my stomach. And I incrementally got surgeries for those, and each surgery I got another case of constipation. I didn't realize the oxy was really the main cause, and it just crippled me. So I tried not eating sauerkraut, and that was okay, dude, you got constipation. How do you want to, do you want to go to the ER for this instance? Because that's almost what happened the last time. And then I also I eat one dried prune after meal, and that seems to manage my my gut. Right? If I quit either one of those things, I'm just so petrified of the constipation. Like, that scares me more than anything, because I'm like, I don't want to go to the hospital and have them have to surgically remove my my doo-doo. So that's really kind of where I am, and I listen to these podcasts, and I love listening to you. You got that wide variety of, you got cancer discussions. You've got you've got really good deep with your podcast. So I'm thankful that Hal kind of hooked me up with you. Hal and I have been friends for a while now, and what good man, and working a good cause over there for sure. I'm trying to work a good cause with my friends, but it doesn't seem to be that effective. So, like I said, any small victory for me is sweet enough. I know the truth out there, so I'm just not changing anything. And like I said, a treat day. What do you do for cheat day? I'm like, cheat day, dude. I was like kind of an alcoholic. If you want to dangle a brewski in front of me, it's not a great idea, So my cheat day is steak. Instead of ground beef, a grilled steak. And boy, I mean, even not hungry, I'll rifle through that bad boy like there's no tomorrow,
Treat day instead of a cheat day.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, extra protein. I never counted anything, but I ended up like last year doing I think it was 2,400 calories. So I do have a lot of fat in my diet with the yogurts and the cottage cheese and the butter with my coffee. I do use cream, and then ground beef, 80-20. I don't get rid of the fat. I just consume it. And then the protein, because of that, those extra cottage cheese and low full fat yogurt, I lucked out. I didn't realize both of them had significant protein in them, right? Animal protein. And then I slapped some whey in there, and the whey is, I know you're not a big fan of sweeteners, sucralose. I don't torture myself with the coffee nor the with the yogurt. So those are both artificially sweetened, and it's pretty. Again, it's not rocket science. Pretty simple. I'm not changing anything. And it's hard to listen to people try to rationalize health in this, this crazy environment, just watching everybody get sick around you, anyhow. Yeah. So that was, Anthony, that's pretty much what's going on here. Again, thank you for exposing me to some stuff that I kind of lost track of, the oxalates. So I've taken all that stuff out. Fortunately, the turmeric was something my wife couldn't stand the smell of for some reason, but so it's gone. I got rid of cinnamon too. That was in there with kind of mixed it in with my coffee, and I think maybe my whey protein thing. Anyhow, that's gone.
That's good.
So, yeah. Any thoughts to come my way?
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, we're wondering. So that treatment for the biliary tree carcinoma, that was in 2023. When did all that treatment clear up? And sort of where are you at now with that treatment? Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.
Post 1 year was my last scan, so that was 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And and each scan post-treatment. So I had, March surgery, April chemo, late May was the start of the radiation. So I finished in probably June.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 year later was I guess June, but here we are in November. So, on or about that time, maybe a little later, because the chemo was, I think, 6 weeks, and the radiation was about 4 weeks. So April, May, June, yeah, July-ish. But yeah, I in all my research, I already know what the labs are going to say, and I said, yeah, my sodium's a little low. I wanted to make sure we talked about that, and then my liver enzymes kind of bop back and forth for some reason, not like off scale, just a little bit high low. My subsequent tests, they're fine. So I don't know what's going on there. Oh, my cholesterol. That was another thing. I had high cholesterol, and I was on statins for a decade, and I was actually weaning myself off statins because I couldn't handle the muscle fatigue and all, and got my calcium score, and of course I popped a moderate, which was like, I'm on friggin' statins for a decade. And then I got browbeat by the cardiologist. In the meantime, I'm emailing, texting Dave Diamond. Mm-hmm. Oh, and this guy's a friggin' clown show. And all I wanted was another CAT scan from him, and so within a year, I got rid of seed oil because I didn't realize my favorite salad dressing had canola oil in it. Mm. And then I added K2 vitamin. I pumped up my fish oil, and I went from 149 to 120 on the CAC score within 1 year, and I had stopped statins. And the guy's telling me, he goes, well, had you not been on statins, your score would have been higher. I'm like, no, you dipshit, because it blocks the goddamn K2 pathway. So therefore, ergo, no way of removing the calcium from your freaking soft tissue. Yeah. So it's just, the crap that's out there.
Yeah. Statins are well known and described and even advertised as elevating your CAC score because they say it stabilizes the plaques by calcifying it. And so, I mean, for him, if you hadn't been on those statins, the CAC score wouldn't have gone down. Okay, you tell me how many of your other patients on statins lower their CAC score. Let's see.
Yeah.
The ballpark figure.
Oh, dude,
is it zero?
I got friendly cardiologists, and then they brought the chief in, and Leahy. Oh, we got the best program. I'm like, dude, I know the lies. You're not going to browbeat me here, because they wanted to put me on a PCSK9 inhibitor injection, and I'm like, all right, go ahead, send the prescription in.
See what happens.
Negative. Well, I never activated. I just got my second CAC score. Of course, I paid for those out of pocket, but it was peace of mind. I'm like, all right, okay, I'm on the right track. I know what I'm doing. I've reduced it. So my cholesterol's friggin' 200 LDL, like 70, 89 HDL, and like 59 triglycerides. So it's like, dude, I'm not changing. Screw that.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing. We put people on, you have high blood pressure, and they say, okay, well, you need to be on high blood pressure medication. Okay. Then that presumes that that's going to lower your blood pressure, because high blood pressure, bad. Then you have high elevated CAC score and say, oh, you need to be on a statin. So the presumption there is that, well, that's going to lower my CAC score then, obviously, or why the hell would you put me on a statin because I have high CAC score. So, oh, that's too high. We need to put you on a statin. Okay. So that's what the patient thinks is this will lower my CAC score, but it does not. It raises your CAC score. Then your CAC score is going up and up and up. Oh, you got to cut out fat. You got to cut out this. You got to cut out that. Oh, I'm on statins. My CAC score is still going up. Yeah, that's what it does. It says that it does. We were taught that it does in medical school. It said very clearly and distinctly that this will increase calcification and that stabilizes the plaque so that it's less likely to rupture. That is how it's advertised. And so, we're saying that the calcification is bad, but then when it's done with a statin, then it's good. That's already crazy enough. But then you have your cardiologist that says, no, you have to be on a statin. And you say, no, I don't want to be on a statin. And your CAC score goes down. Well, that was only because you were on a statin. The opposite is true. And you damn well know that, because if you had.
Well, then I started, I was asking about small dents and they kind of looked at me crooked. Well, I heard that test. We don't do that test. I'm like, yeah, I know you don't do that test because you don't want to fucking expose yourselves.
Well, but like if you were on statins and your CAC score had gone up, you would say, well, hey, my CAC score, my calcium score has gone up, but I'm on this statin. He would have then probably said, oh yeah, no, that's okay, because this is stabilizing the plaque. So it's okay that it's done that. But you want to, there's always an excuse. It's always, well, what we did was the right thing. And even though you stopped doing what we did, it's like, they'll say that like, well, like a new administration comes in and it's just like, well, the economy gets better. And they're like, well, that's just because, of the stuff we did in the old administration, even though it's 3 years down the track now. That's just because of what we did, not because of the changes you made. And, our economy sucked. Then you came in, you changed things and things changed, but that's actually because we set it up for that. Maybe, but it's also could very well be an excuse and trying to save face. And in that
I gotta be honest. When Robert F. Kennedy was part of the administration, I was pumped because I know he's going to go after the industries, and he's exposed them for what they really are, food, the health industry, and the pharma is like a self-licking, ice cream cone where they feed off each other. And as long as they're, providing bad nutrition and Band-Aids, Band-Aids, a stint. That's a Band-Aid, dude. That's, you're not addressing root cause. Your situation is not getting better. You can utilize that, the heart, but, eventually it's gonna, what's next? A stroke, cause that, again, the same root cause, right? Stroke or a heart attack, right? Yeah. It's and then, I got a bypass. Oh, good. Now you don't have access to, quarter of your heart, right?
Yeah.
It's just, people are just, it's just,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's certainly nice to see people talking about these sorts of things at a national level. And that was something I was very excited to see, was when Kennedy started saying, look, we have this health epidemic that's plaguing everybody. And it's only getting worse. We're seeing this. Everybody sees it. There's a lot of people denying it. No, it's not really happening. Nothing to see here, all that sort of stuff. It's complete nonsense.
I was accepting my big fat freaking, now I'm in I'm in the best goddamn fucking shape of my life. And my wife's like, you're so skinny. I go, yeah, because you're supposed to be. I mean, and back to the easy part. It's like 95% of my health is my diet. I diet and I move.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fortunately, I worked out back in the day, so getting back into it's easy as friggin' pie.
Mm-hmm.
That baseline that you established as a younger adult, and then it's like, okay, I'll turn the switch back on,
Mm-hmm.
and here I am with the prednisone. I have the motivation to actually work out more because I don't feel like crapola.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, that took about 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
to get back in the saddle,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel fortunate. I did, like I said, some of the choices I made early on, working out, and then some of the food choices was just lucky. Oh, yogurt and cottage cheese both have a good amount of protein. All right. Well, I'm not knocking that off the table, and like I said, I put a small portion of sauerkraut because I figure it's fermented. It's the least of the plant evils, right? That's affordable and easy to, I eat it. I put it in my dish cold. And then, so when my hot food goes on there, it's edible. I can eat it right away. So within 5 minutes, my one day a meal is consumed, reheated, and ate and consumed. Like zero effort.
Yeah. If you're going to eat plants, probably fermenting them is a good idea. The ones that they're traditionally known to be fermentable and good while fermenting them. Though, the thing is too, is that if you get like the sort of fresh sauerkraut that's actually like has the bacteria in it, and you can, that pie is possibly something that can be good for your microbiome also. And so that can add something to that as well. As far as constipation is concerned, that's always eat more fat. If you eat more fat, things will stay soft. So that can help too. But I wanted to ask you about your, the cancer. We talked about how you had your scans, but how was that new scan? And do they have you on any plans for more chemo, or are they saying that you're in now?
No, I've had 5 scans, all of them, same result, no evidence of metastasize or additional growth. Some of my enlarged nodules actually have gone down. There was a few in the lungs that they were keeping track of, right? Mm-hmm. They've actually shrunk. Mm-hmm. And he goes, they weren't cancerous, but in the meantime, we've tracked them and they shrunk. So, I guess that's excellent news. Yeah. And listen, I'm a realist. This one's an MF. It's a 70% recurrence, and I have a 15% 5-year with the current 2024 data. I'm no fool, and it doesn't discriminate. So, but I also know that I'm not consuming any zero excess carbohydrate, and 90% of my carbohydrate, because my fasting glucose is like 95.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good.
And I consume about 8 grams because my dairy is my number one source of glucose, but it's also lactose, so it's not all glucose, right? Mm. And then when I looked at the prunes, prunes of all the fruits has a high level of sucrose, which is not all fructose, right? So, and there's 4 to 5 servings in one, thing, and I eat one prune, and that, so the fructose number is negligible. And so, I just, my body's producing what I need, my muscle, my brain, my whatever. So there's a lot of competition in there, right? For that resource, and cancer gets, third fiddle, right?
Well, cancer typically will actually suck things up first. So if you look at a PET scan, you give someone an injection of glucose.
But I'm not injecting the glucose. My body's making it, right?
Yeah, but
so is that not a little different?
No, not really. It's you still have a normal amount of, you still have a certain amount of glucose, but when you get a glucose spike, like you eat
you have excess
or something like that. Yeah, the cancer cells will suck those in quicker than your other tissues will. So that's the only thing.
But I think it's evident that that's not going on, right? Because here I am, at the almost the 1.5 year mark, and I got nothing coming back at me. And again, I'll take it. I didn't change anything.
Yeah.
Zero. I started in 2000, late 19 on this diet, and not one thing has changed, other than, then once a month I get treat day.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'll have some meat on Thanksgiving, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's a good day for it. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, it's, one prune is probably not a big deal. People should watch out for those sorts of things because, sucrose is 50% glucose and fructose. So you're getting glucose, but all the carbs turn into glucose. You know what I mean? So when you have lactose, that's glucose and galactose, and that'll split off and you'll absorb the galactose and glucose, but then the galactose will later turn into glucose. And so, that's something to be aware of, that you still want to limit total carbs, but not just glucose.
But Anthony, I mean, we're talking about, like 10 grams of
I'm not talking about your consumption. It's just for everybody listening.
Oh yeah, in general. Yeah.
You're not going to hide from cancer by having.
Oh yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, that's the whole point. Is, dude, don't consume excess, man. Yeah. My cost benefit analysis. If it wasn't for the protein in the, if it wasn't for the protein in the dairy, and I'm kind of cheating because I'm adding whey protein to get more protein, right? So that's what I wanted to mention. My protein number is around 150, 160 grams a day. So that's pretty good, right? I mean, and of course, protein can also turn, right? Excess protein can turn right into is it glucose?
Sort of. I mean, it's typically gluconeogenesis.
I mean, if right, but at the end of the day, dude, and people don't realize the older you get, the more you actually need, right? Because it's like, and all these older frail women. I try to convince my wife to, don't quit freaking eating meat, for crying out loud, and then don't use tuna as your primary source of protein, because that's all the heavy metals in it. I eat that sardine can. It's just that's, and then I take the fish oil supplement. I take a couple of those, dude. I mean, and that seems to be part of my intervention with the for the heart. What I did, I just take I take about 1,000 DHA, EPA, when it's all said and done.
Yeah. It's usually best to get that from your food. A lot of these fish oil supplements.
Oh, I know.
70.
I know, but I don't, I don't consume that much fish, and so that's kind of my, one of my.
Animal fat will have it though. Like grass-fed butter is a good source of DHA and EPA. long, especially if it's grass fed. And grass fed beef has actually perfect ratios of omega-3s, omega-6s. And
yeah, I tell you what, I tried some grass fed beef the other day, and I'm like, oh my god, no one told me how good this was. I'm still trying to find a source, a purchase source.
Yeah.
I thought Costco was going to be the place, but it turns out that they don't have as much as I thought.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If they did, I'd be going there all the time. I love Costco in general, but yeah, no, they don't have grass fed. They have grass fed burgers, and super lean hamburger meat. But supposedly, it says grass fed, but is it also grass finished? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
There's some other products. I actually found this.
Well, you can tell from the taste. I mean, that was just like because I shop at the Air Force Base, the commissary, and they happen to have some grass fed beef.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, so I grabbed some, and I'm like, dude, this is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love grilled steak. This stuff was like, you don't need to grill. You just consume it. And boy, oh boy, I mean, it was delicious.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Well, that's it's great that you're doing so well. The biliary, like you said, biliary carcinoma is extremely dangerous. My grandfather actually passed away from that, and he had the same things. He had the stents put in, and at the time, this was about 12 years ago or so.
And one of the data was really not favorable.
Yeah, it wasn't good. They didn't really have surgical options. Basically the options was if you did like a liver transplant and liver and pancreas and everything like that to get the whole biliary tree structures and everything like that, because cut all that stuff out, those tubes go somewhere and they need to go somewhere. And so had to do some like major sort of things that weren't really an option for him at 95. And so it was more of a palliative treatment, but it was, there was a lot of issues with that. But that's the thing, is that there's a very, very difficult condition. It's very aggressive, like you said. Is 70% recurrence rate. And so, even that you have the surgery, you have the chemo, you have the radiation, it does come back a lot. So, addressing it with ketogenic metabolic therapy, which is essentially what you're doing, limiting the amount of carbohydrates and sort of starving these things out. If there are residual cells banging around, hopefully that this sort of starves them out and never gives them a chance to take hold again. That's sort of the whole idea. And that even if they're not all completely wiped out, it's at least suppressing them enough that they can't, grow back out of control. And that's sort of the idea. And even if you have some of these things there, if they're not growing and they're not causing a problem, which is great. And so that's amazing. It's always great to hear these stories, and hopefully you just keep getting clear checks year after year after year. I did want to ask, because you mentioned Hal, for people that know that episode. I interviewed a gentleman named Hal Cranmer, who has several elderly care facilities in Arizona, and he's been using ketogenic carnivore diets to help them. And he's actually improving their cognitive state. And some people are actually improving so much with end stage dementia that they're actually able to go home again and be with their families, which is just amazing. We're actually talking about maybe putting some case reports together and writing these up to say, hey, look, this is what we're doing, and these are the results we're getting, and or that he's getting. And but you guys served in the Air Force together, right? You were both pilots in the military, is that right?
Yeah, I was a navigator. We were on the same crew.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, we were good buds.
Nice.
Really liked Hal. And here's the funny thing: I actually I turned him on to Saladino's book back in the day when I was on a rampage telling all my friends and I, you know, I kind of joke about it, but you know, you know, that whole process that he does, that's a lot of work, right? You know, in general. And so, um, you know, and then I talked about type 3 diabetes. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's fucking, if you got type 2, it's going to the brain. It's because it's, you know, you don't have the ability to utilize insulin and burn those neurons. And then when you can't burn brain neurons, you become, you know, you start losing your cognitive capacity. And but the fact that he's doing it, you know, that's a fine line, right? For introduce this to people and families and say this is what we're doing, and and then and fortunately getting the results, because proof's in the goddamn pudding, right? I mean, with Paul Salvini's evolution. All right, turn the clock back. Just pretend they had random control studies back in the day, right? Or use your goddamn common sense, right? Because you didn't have the other shit. So therefore, ergo, they ate this, right? And Dr. Bot K, whatever, the evolutionarily appropriate diet. It's like, man, just pretend you have a fucking brain, and then you can imagine, and you don't need a goddamn random. I was doing. The lady's like, "Oh, we don't have any data on ketosis." I'm like, "Shoot, shut the."
You do actually.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Just pretend you were in, the 1800s. Pretend that there was no sugar, like there wasn't.
Well,
and the seed oils and all this stuff. It's like we were healthy. Everybody was not a fat bastard.
Well, but also, people saying, well, we don't have data on ketosis. That's completely and utterly false. They're just too lazy to go looking for it, and they want to be spoon fed. So if it didn't talk to them in medical school or residency, and they don't have reps coming to them saying, ooh, ketosis, and just telling them how to think and what to think, then they just,
it's not in their textbook.
Well, but even then they don't, they're just regurgitating, what they're taught in medical school and residency. But there's this entire world out there that, you have to just
is not influenced by certain people that had a lot of influence on the medical community.
Well, and food and drug companies now, they help dictate the curriculum, and there's no product line behind, ketosis. There's no big keto, something like that. It's just a matter of carnivore. There's no big,
because the money, where's the money to eat healthy?
Yeah. Well, that's it. And so it's just like, there's no product behind that. It's just like, hey, you make your own food choices, but just, try to limit out some of these things. It's really, you're eating less of things, not more of other things necessarily, right? You could be eating the same amount. I've always eaten heavily meat, but now I only eat meat. But am I eating a completely different amount of meat? Not really. I'm eating roughly the same amount of meat. I'm just not having rice with it and salad with it.
You don't need to eat as much, because as long as you supplement with the fat, there's your energy.
Yeah. Well, and but I'm eating basically the same amount of meat. I'm just eating less of the other things. So it's really just, you're saying actually eat less of something. So eat less processed food, less carbs, less vegetables, things like that, less alcohol, less sugar. You're telling me you eat less of something. You're not pushing a product. So it's
alcohol. That one's a tough one. If you'll never get ahead of the 8 ball if you don't manage that. That's a brick wall where eating one prune a day is nothing compared to drinking a 6-pack of IPAs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, and that's a big hang up for people. Now, obviously, it's better to eat right and have some drinks rather than eating
Right.
garbage and having drinks as well.
Yeah.
But you'll get massively better if you cut out the booze as well. And I mean, that's just night and day. I mean, I've seen that myself. It's so different, so much better from athletic performance, just from how much energy you have, how you feel. And, just one night of drinking, it can have a knock-on effect for weeks after that, that you don't have the same energy and exercise potential and, brain energy, mental energy, things like that. And so, but it's hard. It's hard for people to do. And so definitely, if you're still like, look, I need to drink this amount, or, on the weekends, it's just, I'm not ready to give that up yet. Fine. But, give up the other stuff, anyway. I mean, at least you're doing that. You're still, making positive steps in the right direction. Then when you started doing that, then you start feeling better. You're like, oh, okay, well, maybe I will drink a little bit less. You feel even better. You're like, oh, okay, actually, maybe there's something here. So, sometimes you could do it in a gradual way, but yeah, you're right. It makes a massive difference. And, sometimes I see people that are saying they're having good results with a carnivore diet, and they're saying, hey, I've been doing a carnivore diet and I'm getting results, but it's not like stellar like these other people are getting. You start pulling at threads and finding out, okay, what are you eating? And they'll tell you about all the meat that they're eating. Say, okay, what else besides meat are you eating? And then everything comes out. And there's all these other things that they're eating, and artificial sweeteners and drinks and this and that. And then it's just like, and then you're like, hold on, like, you drink alcohol? Like, yeah. It's like, all right, well, so how much would you drink? Oh, I'd have, a couple of drinks, like a weekend, or like every day. I'm like, fair enough. Okay. So that might be, part of the problem. And so we don't always think about that, because that's sort of like a recreational thing. We don't consider that part of our nutrition, but of course we're putting it in our body. And so that affects us in that biochemical capacity that we call nutrition. And so it is definitely something to consider. And if you're not getting the results that you want, how much are you drinking? How often? What are you drinking? And so on.
Yeah, I mean, by no means am I a Bible thumper, but I growing up, it was alcohol social, right? Social alcohol, and right now, 2019, with the way I feel, I don't need alcohol to feel great and be social. I'm actually more social than I was before, all the time, right? I used to pull up to work and see the gate guard, and I was just, oh, fucking, I hate traffic. I hate this. I hate that. And now it's like I show up and I'm in a good mood. I'm like, hey, what's happening, you guys? Dude, what are we doing? What are you driving? And it's like, wow. Before it was like I thought I needed alcohol to enjoy a social environment. It's like, not really, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And you go and all of a sudden they're slurring their words, and you're like, oh, I feel bad for these fucking dudes, my buddies. I'm like, come on, man, you're fucking incoherent.
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes into the party, it's like, and I was there. I mean, I get it. But when I gave it up, it was like, it's like, again. And then the thought of going back, because when I got the cancer, I go, shit, should I just fucking start drinking again? Mm. And I'm like, you know what? No way. Because that made me feel like shit. I'm not doing that.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. Well, that's great, man. Well, I really appreciate that. It's amazing to hear your story, and obviously amazing recovery from all your health issues. And it's awesome that you've been so strong with this for as long, and you got into how into it. That's what I talk about a lot, is people's spheres of influence. Someone influenced you, and you saw this, and you started making positive changes. You tried telling all your buddies about it. Most of them said, like, that sounds nuts, but Hal caught on to it, and now he's applying this, to his patient population, and he's sharing that around the world as well. And that's having this massive influence, and that all came from you, and then his influence is going around influencing other people. He's influencing those families. They're seeing it with their grandmother, and now they're passing it, and now taking it on to their own lives and getting their own improvements and showing it to other people in the same situation. So it's an absolutely amazing thing, that web of connectivity and this grassroots sort of movement, that we can sort of get this up, and we get this to the point that we do get national attention because there is enough of a groundswell that people are like, ooh, maybe I should pay attention to this. And we get a Senate hearing out of it, and I think that's hopefully going to keep continuing to grow as well. So thank you very much for coming on and sharing your story, man. It was great.
Yeah, well, and thank you for having the energy to keep pushing out the word, because it we've essentially gotten a lobotomy about health, and we need to fix that. Get people back on track. You get inundated with the supermarkets, with the ads, with the Band-Aids,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll just get on metformin to solve my problems.
Yeah.
Man, come on, man.
Yeah.
And, and people who are not even obese have taken metformin because they want a little cheat. It's like, dude, it's all right in front of you. All you got to do, just pull the trigger. Get rid of the goddamn carbohydrates, man. That's it. Simple. Sugar. Start with sugar.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah.
People are hoping that they can live, because they're told that their lifestyle doesn't change. I mean, before that it was like, hey, smoking matters, drinking matters, eating right matters. Now we're throwing at people that it's like, no, it's all genetic. You can't change anything. Eat and drink whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And for some reason, people believe this, probably because they would like it to be true. And there's some really, really villainous people that are pushing this out there, because of course that's just going to hurt millions, if not billions of people. And they're just trying to say, well, you can live any way you want, doesn't matter, and just get some pills, and before it was, well, you don't have willpower to sort of knock these things out, and you want the doctor to just give you a pill to fix all your bad decisions. Now they're saying your decisions don't matter at all, just take the pills. And it's like, absolutely not. We cannot let that continue. So you're right. I mean, diabetes is not a metformin deficiency, and obesity is not an Ozempic deficiency. These are ways of manipulating the body in ways that may get a superficial outcome that you want, but will not address the underlying root cause and could perpetuate it and make it worse, because you have this cover up Band-Aid that, it's like if you have an injury and you take painkillers for it, that injury is still there, and you can actually continue to make that injury worse. You're just not, because now you're not protecting it. You're not like, ooh, my knee hurts, so I'm going to take it easy on my knee. Knee pain's gone. I'm just going to go, play basketball or something like that. Then the next day you're screwed, because you've now further damaged that knee. So, it can be a double-edged sword. It can be very helpful. Medicines can be very helpful in certain conditions if used appropriately with proper diet and lifestyle management, but they can also cover up a problem, and it can just fester and boil and then become an absolute disaster afterwards. And that's something that thankfully people are starting to wake up to as well. So yeah. Well, thank you so much. Where can people find you and follow you for more?
I'm not hooked up to that situation yet.
Really good.
I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I think I have Instagram, but I'm not sure. But I just listen. When I talk to people and I bump into people,
yeah,
I find an opportunity to say something, and that's what I enjoy. Someday, maybe when I retire, I'll have a podcast. But I got to hand it to you guys, man. And I know the amount of effort and time that you put into that. That's your time that you're pushing that out there. That's commendable, and appreciate it for sure, 100%.
Thanks, man.
Without you guys, the word would not be further out spread than it is. So kudos.
Well, it's a nice thought, and thank you very much for that. And hopefully it's doing good. And I know it's doing good. I see people like yourself that are getting better. So that's what it's about. So
yeah, exactly. There's some satisfaction in that for sure.
No, there definitely is. And for every negative comment I get 1,000 that are extremely positive of people massively improving their health and their life. And so, people can hate, and that's what they want, but they have to live with those consequences. they want to fight against this and say that it's not real, well, that means they're not going to get the benefits of it. We know that there's benefits. We're doing great. If they don't want to do it, that's on them. They're adults. They can do what the hell they want. It's only they who suffer. Because it's not us. Because whatever they want to say about how bad what we're doing is, it's not. And so they're just the ones not getting the benefits, and that's on them. So, but yeah. So well, if you end up starting up a social media thing, just let me know and I'll put that in the description. Otherwise, people can try and catch you on Facebook as well. So, Will, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And
All right, Andy, thanks a lot.
No worries.
Cheers.
Take care, everyone.
Hey guys, thank you very much for taking the time out to listen to what I had to say. If you like it, then please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and podcast. And if you're on YouTube, then please hit that little bell and subscribe, and that'll let you know anytime I have a new video out, which should be every week, if not more. And if you could share this with your friends, that would help me get the word out and let me know that you like what I'm doing. Thanks again, guys.